Hello, everybody. This is out of character for the show, but we need to settle on the bench for just a second to talk about the sponsor of today's show, Knack. Do you carry around a lot in your backpack like how LeBron James had to carry the Cleveland Cavaliers to 4 straight NBA Finals appearances? Does your messy and disorganized backpack make you want to pull a Bobby Knight and throw a chair across the room? Well, with Knack bags, you can look that frustration straight in the face and tell it, you're out of here!
Knack bags are a combination of your everyday backpack, a travel backpack, and a laptop bag. You have several pockets around the bag, plus a patent-pending hidden expandable carry-on bag that will help you keep everything you're carrying around organized. Pockets on pockets like Patrick Mahomes picks up passing yard after passing yard. Plus, the interior is as padded as a lineman, allowing you to keep all of your electronics safe and sound. The best part? You don't have to look like the student athlete that just came out of a 3-hour lecture class. No matter the need for your bag, Knack fits your lifestyle. Its look is sleek, organized, professional, and stylish, allowing you to look your best while you work your best.
And right now, if you head to knackbags.com for a limited time, use the promo code BENCH with your next order to get a free TSA-approved lock with purchase. Make sure to add the TSA lock to your cart with your Knack bag of choice and use the code BENCH at checkout to get it for free. Knack, the one-bag life.
This is Empty the Bench with Tom Albano.
This is a sin against fellow owners. This is not a sin against your employees or your players, or, you're not going on to the sexual assault trail that the NFL, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
Nick Morgeson.
What's dangerous about accounts like Adam Schefter, Wojnarowski, who covers the NBA for ESPN, these guys have millions of followers. If they tweet out one thing, you're in trouble.
And Nick Federa.
Of course, I'm not buying the Shaggy defense. I'm not buying that at all. I didn't say that. It wasn't me.
Empty the Bench starts now.
Why is it that they think that Tom Brady is at all times playing six-dimensional chess?
The answer is this is not 6-dimensional, but this is 4-dimensional. We are a foursome once again. I'm Tom Albano along with Nick Borges and Nick Federa as always, as well as Johnny Montalbano, who you can see on Game On every week.
Yeah, well, we got a big show for you. The reason Johnny is here, we'll get to that in a minute. Follow us. This is episode 130 of Empty the Bench, as Tom said. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports. Follow us on Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network. And make sure you follow, if I can reach down here to my right, our sponsor, Knack Bags, as well. Make sure you go use the code BENCH, BENCH, at checkout when you buy a Knack bag and get your free TSA-approved lock.
Make sure you order the lock before you put in the code.
Right. So go put the lock in the cart while you get the bag.
But if there is one thing you're not going to put a lock on, it's our opinions today.
Well, yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, I'm turning into Nick
Well,
Morgan.
we were supposed... we were supposed to start with the one story that is going to blow all of us up about one certain Kershaw, one certain perfection that was suddenly halted. But no, because the circus that is the Cleveland Browns has taken the spotlight once again. And when I say circus, oh yeah, there it is. I was waiting for it. And Empty the Bench takes a trip to the circus that is the Cleveland Browns. So, what about the Cleveland Browns this week? Well, it's Baker Mayfield. Now, I know not everything is Baker Mayfield's fault. I know the Browns are
the
stupid.
Browns.
And they are browsing away. They are browsing away all the success that they had in 2020. Yes, I am aware of that. But then he goes on a podcast like ours. It unfortunately wasn't ours. And does, well,
yeah.
I don't know if I should describe it or if I should just throw it to the clip and let it explain itself.
So here's what happened. So the news is quiet. We don't hear anything really on Baker. And then all of a sudden, and what is the name of the podcast again? YNK or?
It's You Never Know.
You never know.
So YNK. the YNK podcast, which is apparently is a friend of his. It's a rinky-dink podcast that no one knows. And I love when athletes do this. They go on just like this random podcast that has no follows, and then all of a sudden you see them on Sports Center and you see them on all these big platforms, and then they get blown up. And then you're basically watching a dog lick itself while Baker's being interviewed.
I mean, when you're friends with Baker Mayfield, I mean, you can pull off these kinds of gymnastics.
So I think before we get into what we think about this, I think who wants to hear from Baker?
Well, we might as well.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. This is from the You Never Know podcast. Take a listen. We'll tell you our thoughts in a minute.
I was like, I really, truly, honestly have no regrets of my time in Cleveland, of what I tried to give to that place.
Right.
And true Clevelanders and true Browns fans know that. And that's why I can walk away from the whole situation feeling like I did it.
And now, do you feel like the way the office has handled it has been disrespectful to you, given where you came in and where they are now? And
I mean, yeah, the respect thing is like it's all going to be like a personal opinion.
Yeah,
like,
and
No.
It really seems like it's your fault, not my fault.
You're not going to tell me it's my fault. I'm just going to run away from this problem.
First of all, this is really tough talk coming from somebody who's had a career of almosts.
Well, it's not even just almost. How about that the guy is a rude son of a bitch, to be quite honest. Can't control himself in public.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for the Browns front office, though.
Well, look at the owner, Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy Haslam's had a history of being in trouble as well.
I'm just saying. What are our thoughts, gentlemen?
I mean, I understand where Baker is coming from about the frustration. As I mentioned, 4 different head coaches, 4 different coordinators in 4 years, just constant trouble. And again, you would think the Browns would continue the momentum that they had for 2020 into 2021, but I guess not. Also to Baker's credit, making him play through a freaking torn labrum?
Torn labrum.
Yeah. That was horrible decision making by the Browns as well. But to call Baker what he's trying to call himself, he's considering himself like a quarterback on the rise, a quarterback who can be in maybe not so much the top 5, but top 10, top 50. I don't know if I would go that route. He's not.
I mean, you can't. What do you think, Johnny?
So I did listen to this whole thing, and I want to have that time back.
Oh, you poor soul.
Yeah, well, I got a sports minute out of it, so that was one positive about it. But look, let's break this down. I agree with Tom. The one thing that Baker did say there that I do agree and is legitimate is the fact he had 4 different head coaches and several coordinators in his 4 years there in Cleveland. Look, I don't think any quarterback would be able to do with 4 different coaches and several coordinators in a 4-year span. So that part Baker's right about. But everything else about that is Baker being Baker, and he's playing the victim card over and over again. And I got to tell you, the act is just old. It's so out of touch when you're making $18 million a year and you basically are saying, oh, I'm not doing well. It's not right for them to be booing me when I'm not doing well. Baker,
let me ask you.
Of course, you're so out of touch. I mean, this is why you're not going to end up on a team the way you are right now.
Well, let me ask you guys. You think if Baker says nothing throughout this whole process, it's a little different and he is the victim?
Absolutely.
He ends up looking better if he says nothing.
Because to also his credit, I think what the Browns are doing with this trade for Desean Watson and everything, you guys, Nick and Nick, you guys know what I think it is stupid.
It's completely stupid. But again, I agree with Johnny in that inconsistency has bedeviled him. I mean, it bedevils a lot of quarterbacks. May I direct you to Jones, Daniel, but still.
But you're putting the attention and the spotlight on yourself in a situation where you already have a problem at quarterback with a certain guy. His initials DW come to light here in this situation.
And we're not talking Arthur here.
No, we're not talking Arthur here. But
leave her out of it.
And my point is that the Browns are going to Browns. Shit or get off the pot. Sorry, I'm using all the puns because the Browns are a clown show that are still going on. But
even if they are off the pot, Even if they are off the pot, they still are shit.
I mean, if he thought he was going to endear himself to the other teams in the league that even might have a passing interest in him.
Oh, wait a minute.
You're
No,
dreaming.
I don't think he did that. I think he's made the situation worse. I think the Browns.
That's my point.
Okay. I was gonna say I think the Browns are gonna be more satisfied in having him be the backup.
Oh, wait a minute. If Baker is trying to put the halo on and try to say that he's the victim here, get in line behind every other quarterback that's trying to get a job in the league, because he is the worst at trying to be the victim.
Okay, I thought you were gonna go in a different direction. I thought you were going to point to, like that infamous fan shirt that lists every single quarterback that the team has had since what?
Well, that's bad too.
2000.
I mean, they've had more quarterbacks than the lottery has at this point.
I mean, at this point, you are either, I hate to say you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, but he's either banished to football Siberia, which is, being backup quarterback for the Browns, or, toiling in the purgatory of Jaguars football, and no one wants that. So,
no, because the Jaguars are not going to get rid of Trevor Lawrence anytime soon. I don't know where Baker's best fit is right now. Right now,
I'll give you one. I have a bold one if you want it.
Oh
no.
So, remember how when we were talking about Aaron Rodgers and I came up with a destination of sorts?
You're not thinking.
You're going back to that trade?
So no. I'm talking about where I said Aaron Rodgers should go if he was going to leave Green Bay. Now,
Cleveland.
No, I said.
So
what I'm going to tell you right now is as bold as it's going to be. Baker should go behind Tom Brady and sit behind him in Tampa Bay.
Sit behind him for a year and then take over?
Yes.
That actually makes a weird kind of screwed up sense.
My problem.
It's actually not crazy.
It's not, but the problem is because it's not considering you're gonna have Godwin and Nevins.
The weapons are there.
The problem is but Nick, the problem is I don't think Baker wants to sit behind somebody for.
Okay,
I think he wants to be. I'm gonna get what you're saying. Yes, it is better for him, but I'm saying Baker. This is like what I remember, back in the Unspoken podcast days, where we always talk about Cam. I always said Cam is a guy who will not sit behind anybody. He wants to start, and I think Baker is the same way. He wants to start regardless of where he is.
I mean,
Cam's got his own issues too with the dumb.
I don't think Cam's going to be playing in the league anymore.
Well, Cam made dumb comments about women being.
That wasn't good. Yeah, that didn't help either.
Okay, so then I'll go in that direction. I think Baker is going in the direction Cam Newton's going, and it's not going to end well.
Baker is as stale as the candy that he gave out in the commercials.
And I'm not sure he even has the talent that Cam Newton had in his prime.
Well,
wow. I mean, at this point, doing something like that, sitting behind Tom Brady for a year requires humility, and I don't think, based on what we see in that interview, that Baker Mayfield knows what the taste of humble pie is.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Either he goes and he sits behind Tom Brady, or he's out of the league, like Johnny said. That's the possibility he's going to run into.
I think there would still be a team that would take a chance on him, even after all that.
A desperate team, Nick.
Right now, I have one. I've got a desperate team. They're up there. I was going to say a desperate team that actually has receivers. Interesting receiver because they're not willing to part with them, even though it looks like they're going to rebuild mode. A team where in a place where it's always rainy.
Seattle.
He's not going to Seattle. Johnny and I talked about this. They just brought back Geno. They made the trade for Locke. They're not going after Baker.
And you're telling me that
just think about that for a second. The Seahawks signed Geno Smith before Baker Mayfield.
Before him.
Well, time out. Remember, Geno Smith. They were able to sign Baker. It has to be a trade.
Yeah.
That's my point. I'm saying they're not going to do that when they already have two quarterbats on the roster.
But now we're going to the other issue of it. I don't think Cleveland wants to move Baker. They were willing to move. What's his name? Remember we were talking about Baker and the Deshaun whole thing.
What, the backup quarterback you're talking about?
Keenum. They moved Case Keenum before they moved Baker Mayfield.
You need to remember something. The other thing is the Browns are handcuffing themselves because they've told teams in trade talks they're not paying the money.
Oh, well, what they're doing right. Well, what they were doing, how they got themselves into this mess is stupid too. Let's see. Okay, you have Desean Watson. who's also going to be potentially facing a suspension. I know probably not the whole season because the NFL is stupid when it comes to suspension. They can't discipline a player worth a shit.
He'll get 4 to 6 games. But
he'll get 4, 6, maybe 8 games. But then think about this, and I think I said this on the show before. Actually, no, because the situation in Cleveland's a little messier now. Odell was over in LA, and he's not going to come back till November. And I'm pretty certain LA or another team would be happy to have him. Let's see, you have Jarvis Slater. Oh, no, you don't, because like Baker Mayfield, he's also pissed off and wants a trade. I believe Rashard Higgins is gone. I mean, you got Peoples-Jones, but the problem is you don't have a receiver. And I think also trading for Watson is stupid because guess what? If I remember correctly, they're not a pass-first offense.
They're not.
And they still have Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who are making their, who still powered through.
But that's what makes no sense. That's what makes no sense here. Desean Watson is a full throwing quarterback.
Yes, and maybe Deshaun, and we don't know really about Deshaun Watson's capabilities. Maybe he still is the Deshaun Watson from 2018, 2019, or maybe he's regressed. But we're not going to know until he's back on the field in a game. And why are you handcuffing, your best positions on the offensive side of the ball with your running backs and Chubb and Kareem Hunt? Why are you handcuffing them? Unless you're going to have the best defense in the league, you're not going to be going anywhere because the Browns are probably going to be a bottom 10 offensive production this season. That's a hot take for you.
No.
Wow.
No, Tom's right, and I think that point does not get talked about enough. Is the fact that he has not played in over a year, and it's one thing to be practicing. Yeah, it'll be 2 by the time the opening week starts, but he hasn't. And I had this debate with somebody on Twitter about this. I get the fact that he hasn't taken any hits to the body, but the fact that you don't step on the field in over a year. I mean that it takes it. You don't know what you're getting. Reps are key.
There's also a difference between taking reps in practice and taking reps in
a game.
Right.
You're not wearing the equipment. You're not taking hits. You're not doing anything that would be normal in a game. So just because you didn't take any hits, if you're not playing in the consistency of the game, then you're out of touch.
It's crazy because there are 2 things also with the possible suspension. Maybe they think also that Baker could be there to start the season.
That's not happening.
But also, what we might be staring, if that is the case, then we're going to be staring this down again when Watson would be eligible to come back. So you're going to be just kicking this can down the road, and then comes deadline time, and you're going to have this mess again on your hands. So it's just and the thing is too, if this is the first time that Baker's saying something like this, you almost give him a pass. We are dealing this with Baker Mayfield over and over and over again. And that's what I'm saying. The act is old. He's not helping himself out at all. And again, look at Seattle. It was reported to possibly go after him. And you got now maybe because they have the draft capital because of what happened, but
because of the trade with Denver. But
I mean, why? If you are a team that's still desperate for a starting QB, were you sold on that interview? I was. I wouldn't be.
No.
Also, I do apologize. They did get Amari Cooper. But I
wouldn't call that a massive upgrade.
I was gonna say I don't think Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones is an upgrade.
But I want to go back to the point where you were talking about if they kept Baker in for the suspension. One, I'll tell you why they won't do that. Because if Baker comes in, say Deshaun is suspended 6 games, and he throws like 15 to 20 touchdowns in 6 games, the fans are going to have a freaking frenzy if he comes out and completely owns.
So then the Browns be a mess again. Still.
So in other words, Nick, you actually think that they will start Jacoby Brissett over Baker Mayfield?
Oh yeah, that's not even a question. They're not. Baker's played his last game in Cleveland.
Browns gonna Browns. That's all I'll say.
But that's the thing, though. Browns gonna Browns implies some kind of external force. No. The Browns themselves.
And the thing is, they don't want to give Baker the satisfaction if he comes back on the field and he actually succeeds. As sick as that sounds, that's how NFL teams think.
And I think Cleveland did this to themselves. They exercised the 5th-year option after his successful 3rd season. if they don't do that, they could easily have gotten rid of Baker, and then they get Deshaun. And then if he gets suspended, then there wouldn't be another option than Brissett.
You know what the biggest mistake was? The biggest mistake was giving Deshaun a fully guaranteed contract, knowing there was a suspension coming.
Oh,
and on
that too.
and on top of that, if you heard, and this is the one time I agree with Jerry Jones, I know, stop the presses. I don't agree with him ever. But he actually said, now all teams are up in arms because of that dumb contract that the Browns gave Desean Watson. Because now they're going to have to meet fully guaranteed contracts at $230 million.
In other words, they're about to go into a direction that baseball is going into, possibly.
Well, Nick, you and I had said this before too. What happens when guys like oh boy, I'm losing it here. Just give me a second. What happens if you have guys like the guy that says Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert? When they could become,
what are they going to command?
They're going to. I'll tell you what it is. They're going to command the mother load because of Deshaun's contract. If Deshaun made $230 fully guaranteed, I guarantee you the two of them are going to ask for $300 million plus.
Oh,
actually,
no question about that.
And I actually don't think the Browns are completely at fault in that one, because there actually is another team that did a fully guaranteed deal with a quarterback, a team that is closer to Nick Federa in my heart.
Yeah,
but
wait a second. That wasn't the $230 million that Deshaun got.
Fair point, but I think the Vikings started the foundation.
I'll give you that, but at least Cousins came through and actually played halfway decent.
Yeah, Cousins has actually been performing pretty well. I can't say too much.
If you look at Desean Watson, he hasn't played in almost 2 years. And now you go from being off the field 2 years to $230 million guaranteed?
Okay, very, very... You know what? Very true. I do understand that point. I actually do agree, because now that does smell trouble when Burrow and Herbert become free agents.
If you look at Burrow's last season, he should be paid now. Herbert is going to get paid in the next 2 years, and they're going to say, hey, the Browns just gave a fully guaranteed contract at $230. I want $300. I've been playing. I haven't done anything horrible. I'm not suspended.
You know what's crazy? If Patrick Mahomes didn't get that big contract already, he probably would be the one that would be fully guaranteed.
Oh man,
right?
That would have been a storm.
That would have
been a legitimate thing, because Mahomes would have been worth that. And all you talk about now in that division, he's the best quarterback in that division. Yet everybody's talking that he's got the worst team, which I disagree with. But imagine if Mahomes didn't get that big contract already, he probably would get a fully guaranteed, but he'd be worth more than.
I don't think Mahomes is the worst. I don't think Mahomes is the worst team, but it's still damaged when they traded
his
away
defense. The defense is horrible in KC. But my point, and we'll finish up on this because we spent a long time on this. The issue that teams are having is the Aaron Rodgers theory when it comes to money. When the quarterback is taking up 56 or to 60% of the cap, and now you can't afford guys to put around. Look at
around them.
And I think we're going to talk about it. Why am I forgetting the Raiders quarterback?
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr just got a 3-year, $121 million deal, which is essentially a 1-year deal from what they're saying.
Yeah, because apparently there's like specific. I'd say there's weird terms to the contract. We'll explain it later.
But my point is, when they're taking out the cap, and then they just brought in Devontae Adams, that. Look at the numbers. Like, those two guys are taking up 70% of the cap by themselves.
And Max Crosby, they signed back 4 years and $98, $99 million.
So how can you afford guys to put around? You're basically signing minimum guys off the scrap heap.
Yeah. I mean, you see that almost you see that in a lot of sports. You see that in basketball, especially. Look, you bring in all the big stars and you pay them all this money, but you still got to field the whole team around them.
Oh, don't get him started on that.
Oh, I know. That's where I was going at.
Oh, God.
All right.
If you're going to rev up that wind-up monkey, you need to make sure he bangs his cymbals the entire time.
Well, we're about to start banging some cymbals right now. Let's move on over to the world of baseball, and let's talk about this.
I'm just going to do this now.
Who is that in reference to, though?
You want to know what that's in reference to? The slog of a mess that is social media, including Twitter. Johnny and I had a massive discussion about this over the last couple of days, where people who don't know what being an athlete is like, they probably sit in their mother's basement eating microwave mac and cheese, not knowing what being an athlete means. and they go on Twitter and they say, well, come on, he should have stayed in all 9 innings. He should have been allowed. Do people realize that there was a lockout for 100 days and these guys could not rev up for stamina's sake? And Clayton Kershaw on the IL for 9 times in the last 3 years.
So context is necessary. So the Clayton Kershaw had he had to start this past week where he pitched 7 innings of a perfect game against the who's he pitching? Oh, the Twins.
The Twins,
And he gets pulled. So he was at like 85 pitches, and Dave Roberts, the manager, pulls him and brings in another reliever who promptly gives up a hit to
That's
Gary
it. The only hit of the game.
to Gary Sanchez of all people. Oh my God, that's so weird. God. I'm never gonna get used to saying Twins
that's
catcher
karma.
Gary Sanchez.
Oh, I know.
Well, that's karma for the Dodgers.
But the reason we brought Johnny on is to make this a fair fight, because we're 2 versus 2 here when it comes to this discussion.
I thought he should have stayed in. I made a minute.
I think you have to give him the opportunity. I think
You at least gotta try.
If he now listen, if he wants to come out to the game, then by
Then
all
you
means.
take him out of the game.
In what world does a pitcher ask to come out of a game?
I mean, if they're hurt, it happens. It
No,
happens
no.
all the-
Forget if they're hurt. He wasn't hurt. So in what world does a pitcher ask to come out of a perfect game when
apparently he did.
he did? I heard controversy to those reports.
So here's what I would say to all this. Number one, I need to know what pitcher in baseball today, first start of the season, is pitching past 7 innings and 80 pitches in this situation. The only guy that came to my head was maybe Max Scherzer, and that's because he in his first spring start he went like 5 or 6 innings. So maybe Scherzer goes on, but when you have a guy here who's been injury plagued, like Nick said, he's been on the injured list 9 times in the last couple of years. In fact, let me give you some. In fact, he just came back. He had a couple of spring starts, but late in the season last year, he had a forearm issue. I mean, this is a guy, Clayton Kershaw, who, look, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. There's no doubt about it, but he's had bicep tendonitis. He's had forearm problems. He's had elbows. He's had back problems. He's up there in age. He's not a young kid anymore either.
I think he's 34, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
no,
and
hang on, guys. Hang on.
you-
A couple of days ago, MLB.com, Kershaw agreed with decision to pull him after 7 innings. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if he says that, then
Yeah, if he says that, then
That
fine.
does that change the whole point?
yes.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
does.
even- but yeah, I mean that was said right. That was said afterwards. And look, you have to understand. I mean, like we said, the last time that Kershaw pitched actually started 30 games in a season, you have to go back to 2015.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
7 years ago.
Right. Otherwise, I'll give you these are the number of games that he started in the last since 2016. 21, 27, 26, 28, 10 in the lockout shortened year, and then 22 last year. So I had
Okay.
and here's
Well,
the thing
also-
too.
Okay.
Maybe the fact also that it was a 7-0 game also could have contributed to this. If we're talking about maybe
Well,
2,
wait a minute.
would be one thing, but
But wait a minute. That would make the argument for him to stay in more if the lead was bigger, wouldn't it?
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, I think it.
I don't look. I don't think.
I think it depends. I think it.
But-
I guess it depends on the pitcher because you guys are going on about his injuries, so maybe that's when you.
I don't think there's.
But I think Nick. But I think actually in a different case, if we're talking about a pitcher like a Garrett Cole, like a Max Scherzer, yes, Nick, I think that's more incentive for him to stay in and try to get this thing. Also, I think what else gives a little more incentive for him to should have maybe stayed in. He's never pitched a perfect game. He has a no-hitter back in 2014, but if he wanted to, like stay in the game, then you got to give him the opportunity.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I think that's a bad argument because, and I'm not saying that just because we're all talking. I just think that's a bad argument because in baseball, you're looking at the end game to win the World Series. You're not looking at the individual accomplishment. Sorry, but that's not what I look at.
Well, I think the Yankees actually have a similar situation. If you guys remember last year with the no-hitter from Corey Kluber, because after that no-hitter, he basically was on the shelf till September. Now, Corey Kluber also has had a history of
arm injuries. Yeah.
So let me throw something at you guys right here. Do you think now with how baseball is getting, because part of this I think is also just how baseball seems to be getting in terms of how we're treating pitchers, especially in this post-lockout era when they haven't revved up their own. Do you think maybe after these no-hitters and perfect games and such, that these pitchers should get their next start in the rotation skipped?
Oh,
I mean, that wouldn't be that's actually a pretty good idea.
I think Kluber may not have been as damaged if the Yankees decide, okay, as much as I hate bullpen games, hey, we're gonna make his next start actually a bullpen day.
It all depends.
It might have saved Johan Santana.
Wait a minute.
That's
a good point. But it all depends on how strenuous the no-hitter was. Did you throw 150 pitches? Did you throw 100 pitches? How quick did you make it through the no-hitter? Was it like a normal game? You just pitched quickly? It all depends. Because in a lot of no-hitters, there's a lot of strikeouts. That's usually what happens.
Kershaw had 13 strikeouts.
Right. So when the more strikeouts, the more pitches. Think about it. That's 40 pitches right there alone. So,
and you know how to manage. Again, there's nothing about pitchers and pitching and the mechanics of it that training staffs do not know at this point. I mean, Eric Cressy, the strength and conditioning coach for the Yankees, pretty much has this down to a science, as do most of the other teams in the league. So you're telling me that you wouldn't do what is best for the health of the starting pitcher, even if it meant skipping a start? I mean, I have a hard time believing that they wouldn't.
Oh, wait a second. Then if you're saying you would skip the start, Nick, just before I make the point.
Yes.
Okay, so in theory, then you should be okay with when they take the guy out if it's an injury-prone situation or a possible injury-prone situation.
If it's an injury-prone situation, a lot of this boils down to if this.
And unfortunately, I know this is more so for the playoffs, but the Dodgers don't exactly have and Dave Roberts don't exactly have a great history of decision making when it comes to pitching.
Yeah, but I think Dave Roberts got the unfortunate end of the stick by some.
Also, bear in mind something, guys. We're not talking about the Kershaw from 2014, 2015. We're talking about the Kershaw from 2022. I'm not talking in the sense of ability and injury prone. I'm talking in the sense of he's not the top guy
in
that Dodgers rotation anymore.
He's a third or fourth starter.
You got Walker Buehler. You got Julio Urias. Kershaw is not a necessity to this team anymore. I'm sorry to say.
It's true.
But let me just go back to what I was saying in the beginning here. There's not one pitcher in baseball that would have done this. And the shorts and the lockout does have something to do with this too. But I also, at the same time, I cannot be hearing from insiders and from fans and stuff that are saying that things like this are ruining the game. First of all, this is about the 100th problem that baseball has right now.
Yeah, this is pretty down the list.
I think it is related.
When I read Jules Sherman's tweet as I'm talking to you guys right now, and when I saw that in real time, my head exploded. But he's talking about having to get fans back. We have to entertain our fans. We have to keep our fans first in our minds. Well, the Apple TV package problem, the fact that you're eliminating the shift, which you now starting to see. You see some players already start the year going against the shift and getting on base, and you want to ban that. That's a problem. The whole pace of play rules is a problem. The ghost runner at second base problem. We've been down this road before. We were on when the lockout was happening. This is not the reason why fans are leaving the game.
Johnny, right. but I think it is related in that I think they want to cater to more offensive production games. I don't think they care as much for no hitters and perfect games and such. I don't think they really do.
But you know what it is also? The low scoring games that go 3.5, 4 hours is what is annoying a lot of people too. So, and again,
but I hate that though, because I every game has its own story. If the score is 2-1, if it's a 2-1 pitcher's duel, fine.
But part of this problem, one of the many problems also, is the way that these guys are baby when they're little. When they're kids too. God. That's why we get to this now. Where we get to this problem as well. These guys, we see kids at 16 years old throwing sliders and pitches that they should not be throwing. That's why they're blowing out their arms left and right. And like we said, Kershaw's had millions of problems the last several years. So, again, there's no pitcher I will say this on the record. There is no pitcher in Major League Baseball right now that first time through the rotation, was going to pitch a perfect game if it was 7 innings and 80 pitches. I could get maybe Max Scherzer, because in his first spring start, he went 5 or 6 innings. But that's it. There's nobody on the Dodgers, nobody on the Mets, nobody on the Yankees, nobody in baseball was going a perfect game unless their pitch count was unbelievably low.
Let me ask you this, though, Johnny.
It's low, but for somebody like Kershaw who's had problems, I mean, he had a forearm issue at the end of last season. Nobody's going. And
Would you feel the same if it was Garrett Cole?
Yes.
Yeah, Garrett Cole only threw 68 pitches in his first start. He went 4 innings. This is what I was saying on this show and on my other show, Game On. Every pitcher, one of the many problems that this lockout created was a shortened spring training.
Yes.
So go into opening day, and if you had a 1-0, low scoring pitchers duel, the starting pitcher was only going to go 5.
Okay, but regardless of what you think, baseball's done this to itself.
Yes, baseball.
We all can agree on. Yes,
baseball has done this to itself. First of all, the 100-day lockout has caused pitchers not to gain the stamina they need. First of all, and I'll make the other point, and Johnny knows where I'm going to go with this. You want to blame one person for this? Blame Rob Manfred for this. I'm serious. Blame Rob Manfred for this, for the lockout, because
he's a self-opening pinata.
Wait a second. Time out. Rob Manfred is the one to blame. He could have put these negotiations to the side. They could have been playing while negotiating to figure this out. And you wouldn't have these issues where Garrett Cole is going 4 or 5 innings, throwing 68 pitches, and blaming Billy Crystal for not getting off the field so he could hit.
Oh, my God.
My point is that this tweet right here from Joel Sherman is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Joel Sherman should be ashamed of himself for writing this dumb shit.
Is that still up?
Yeah,
it's still up. Joel Sherman should be ashamed. I can't take it. You have idiots like this who post dumb shit like this.
Well, considering the publication he works for, he's actually the 3rd worst writer they have.
No, but I'm serious. He's blaming this for fans not watching the game. They're not watching the game because the players are greedy bastards. So are the owners.
Again, it's not solely. I say the way this tweet is worded, it sounds like that it's solely that. It's not solely that. But what this situation is, once again, can I remove this, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd say that what this once again is, as I said before, is the product of a situation that's bigger than that. This is the aftermath. This is the aftermath we're suffering through thanks to the lockout, thanks to the MLB and the MLBPA just tussling with each other for not even the last offseason, the last 3, 4, several seasons.
Wait a minute. I have to ask Johnny, because Johnny and I talked about this. Do you remember the comment you made when you and I talked about how Rob Manfred gave the players a special present for...
Oh, man.
So, just in case people don't know, Rob Manfred decided to come out and make a public statement and said, you know what? I feel bad for the players. Here's a bunch of Beats headphones or whatever headphones. Those headphones. And he basically said, here's a token of my appreciation for what happened in the lockout. Are you serious? Are you serious? Wait, let Johnny say what you said, though, what you wrote.
And I still maintain to this day. So I saw that tweet, and the first thing that came to my mind, Tom and Nick, were, what did the fans get? What do we get? What do we get? We get Apple TV Plus, which I can't watch. We get Amazon Prime, which some people Amazon Prime, which if you don't have that and you're a Yankee fan, guess what? You missed out on 1/8 of their season. You get
not only that, Johnny, but I want to add to that. Do you remember when the NFL first tried the Amazon Prime a couple of seasons ago? Remember how bad that service was?
Cosmo.
I'll tell you what, though, I would trust the NFL to do the Amazon Prime package better than baseball. And the thing is, NFL's a national thing where you have national broadcasters, which you're going to have with the Amazon Prime thing. You're missing out on your local guys. Look, one of the first things the Met fans were complaining about when their game was on Apple TV was they didn't get Gary, Keith, and Ron. And I will say the announcers, Melanie Newman and everybody else that was there, that was about the 11th worst thing that was there. They were fine. It was everything else with the Apple TV thing that was a problem. But I don't want to get off on a tangent. But the Bose headphones things, I mean, what do we get?
Nothing.
I got nothing except aggravation, frustration. It's like get me to football, get me to September.
Also, just the idea of the sorry, Nick, but just the idea of the post. They're like, hey, I'm so sorry for causing all of this, anger. I'm sorry for nearly canceling our season for the second time in 3 years. Here's some Bose headphones.
No.
Here's some headphones.
Wait, Johnny, you know what the fans get?
I hate you. Get the out of here.
He could have just mailed every single household in America a 16:9 Polaroid of just him giving the middle finger. Yeah, literally.
A picture of him with the middle finger with a smile the same smile that he had when he announced the cancellation.
When he was doing his golf swing.
I was just gonna say it should be a 16:9 Polaroid of Rob practicing his golf swing. That's what it should be.
Can his face actually be painted like a clown too, like they have the Goodell clown face?
I was gonna say that should be our first merch of Rob Manfred as a clown, and that could be our first shirt.
Tom and Nick, I think what you need also is that Chiron that I used for my show on Tuesday. Nick, save it to yours too. It was called Good Old Rob Manfred.
Oh yes, we did do that. That was great.
But you know what? And just to close out this thing with Kershaw real quick, I would say this too. If this was Kershaw's 20th start of the season in August, and it was 7 innings and 80 pitches, then maybe we could have an agreement about why he took him out then. But again, it's his first start of the season, coming off of the injury late last year with the forearm injury, and also I'm not going to bash Dave Roberts because let's be honest, the Dodgers on paper right now are the best team in baseball. They are stacked rotation wise. They've got bullpen. The bullpen's great. They've got guys that are not even pitching right now that are hurt that are going to come back and are going to contribute. The lineup 1 through 9, if they're healthy, is the most balanced and complete lineup that there is in baseball right now. So I think Dave Roberts knows what he's doing. So that's why it's another reason why I think that this was the right decision in pulling him after 7 innings and 80 pitches.
They have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the Dodgers. Like it's if they don't win 100 games, their over/under was 98. They're going to win over 98.
All right, so then
and the thing is, if this was the Yankees, the Yankees would be getting bashed beyond belief if this was the Yankees' rags to riches. But the problem is they're never rags to riches pitching wise. It's always offensive wise, and that's what kills them.
Well, so let me close out the segment by asking you this, and we're talking about how good the Dodgers are. We're talking about this whole decision. Is this your must win for the Dodgers? If they don't win the World Series, it's a failure.
I wouldn't say it's must win because they won a World Series. They accomplished what they wanted.
Yeah.
But
is there a point where, like decisions like this, aren't worth it? Like if they lose in the NLDS, then a decision
that's
like
a disappointment. That would be a disappointment. If they don't make the World Series, that's a disappointment.
I mean, look, if they lose to the Braves again, if they lose to the Braves in the NLCS or something like that, that's, the Braves are still a very, very good team. And
I think it is going to be a Dodgers-Braves NLCS.
Well, it's shaping up to be that way because who else in the NL scares you? The Brewers. The Brewers will win the NL Central, but the Giants will be up there. I think the Phillies and the Mets could be up there as other wild cards as well. But other than that,
the Mets have to prove it in the regular season first before we can talk about playoff Mets.
Look, they're over. I said this on our baseball preview show. I don't think they're a 90.5 win team. I think they are. No. They're better than 500, but I still think they're the second or third best team in that division.
Oh no, I think they're a 500 team. And I've already been yelled at by Mets fans, friends of mine already. But
one thing we've learned the first 2 weeks of the season, Nick, is the overreaction with the Mets and the Yankees is just out of this world.
Oh,
we no. We have an embarrassment not of riches but of bitches. We bitch all day.
I was going to say, so we're back
doing that about on the field stuff instead of off the field stuff.
Speaking of off the field stuff, oof.
Oh, nice transition. Right. Did they right?
Oh yeah, boy,
transition. So Trevor Bauer. Speaking of Dodgers pitchers,
Nick, I'll do it for you.
Congratulations, dickweeds. The dickweeds in this case can apply to multiple parties in this situation. Chief among which is Mr. Trevor Tiberius Bauer.
By the way, and we did both of you did a really good interview, Tom and Nick, with Michael Duarte of NBC LA. If you go back and you listen to that interview, I think he gave you guys close to 40, 50 minutes, right?
I think everything that we've talked about in that interview has come to fruition.
Yes, literally. Again, Michael Duarte might actually be a wizard. He could actually predict the future.
I mean, I went back and I watched that interview. He nailed everything on the timeline to a T. Like,
But again, you remember a couple weeks ago when I said that doesn't seem like a present me problem. This seems like a problem for future me.
Well, here it is.
This is again what we find ourselves with.
the thing I wanted to say, and I think I said this to Nick when we were doing Beyond the Bench, was shouldn't they just say indefinite suspension at this point?
Is there some sort of formality that they have to do?
No, but but I don't think he's playing this year. I really don't.
It's going to be in depth. Remember, MLB has to conduct its own investigation.
They already did. They know.
I can picture now. Rob Manfred in like the Sherlock Holmes attire with the magnifying glass. We're still working on it.
I wonder if I see any sexual assault that needs beneath this magnifying glass. Or is it basically just an excuse for MLB's investigators to go to the local Krispy Kreme and just pick up some donuts?
I wish I could just punch Rob Manfred in the face right now.
All right, let's talk about. So we're talking about money. We're talking about players and owners and all sorts of headaches. So Rafael Devers, according to Jeff Passan, has rejected a contract extension for the Red Sox. He wants over $300 million in an extension.
Starting third baseman for the San Francisco Giants in 2025, ladies and gentlemen.
You know what's ironic about this? I don't know how long ago it was, but when Pablo Sandoval was trying to get the bag of money, he went from San Francisco to the Red Sox. Could we see the opposite situation happen now, where he goes from the Red Sox to the Giants?
I mean, I'd feel pissed off if I was him. I mean, you got Trevor Story. What am I, chopped liver?
And actually, they have a whole nother issue because of Xander Bogaerts, who can opt out and be a free agent. They're going to have to spend a shitload to keep this team together.
You're starting to see a trend now with all these guys that either want it signed before they want their extension before the season, or they're going to go and test out the market. And now you've seen that with Devers, you've seen that with you're going to see that with Bogaerts. We obviously have seen that here in New York with Judge. It's definitely the thing is with Bogaerts, and I guess you can lump Devers and Judge in this as well. You see all these big contracts they're getting, and then you see also like Correa's going to probably opt out, and he's going to want so. It just creates craziness.
I have to say this, man. I love Trout and Harper. I remember when they were first coming up and getting on their hype trains, but man, they're kind of the cause of this.
What?
They're kind of the cause of this, taking $300-400 million deals and then being on teams that won't make the playoffs ever.
I'll go one step further. I wouldn't even blame the players. I would blame Scott Boras for this.
BS. Is that what
BS. Okay, Scott Boras, and I'm not saying I'm blaming the players. I'm saying I'm blaming two players in particular.
No. But I wouldn't even go there. I would say this is completely Scott Boras' fault for being the way that he is, being the dominant guy that he is. We have to admit he's the number one agent in MLB. We can't deny that. And basically he goes out there and says, look, I'm going to get the money from my guys, which, by the way, I watched a great documentary on CNBC where he gets like 4% of every contract that he gets for his players. So no wonder he's out there trying to get them millions of dollars. But it also comes
but it ruins the market.
But it also comes to backfire.
Who cares?
Look at a guy like Michael Conforto, who's not playing right now.
Exactly. And wouldn't it behoove somebody like the Yankees to pick up another outfielder? Maybe? Is it just me?
No.
They don't need him. But
they don't need enough.
If Judge or Stan go out get injured and miss the entire season, maybe. But otherwise,
but you still have Esteban Florial who's trying to burst through the window.
I'll give you a real devil's advocate situation that would be a nightmare. Can you imagine if Aaron Judge had Scott Boras as an agent?
Oh dear God!
Can you imagine?
He might turn into the next Kay-Rod if that.
See,
happens.
why are you custom building these scenarios to piss me and specifically me off?
I'm just trying to play the scenario that Scott Boras has ruined this game from the standpoint of money, because all he cares about is I'm going to reach and get the $1 billion contract and not try to make teams fit. He doesn't care if teams stay together.
I would make a comment about waiting for the TV market to burst for baseball, but considering they're going to Apple TV Plus and Peacock and all, I wouldn't be surprised if MLB makes its own streaming service in the next decade.
Well, that was MLB.TV, but at the same time,
yeah. But I mean, like
not a website.
And I know they have MLB Network, but I'm talking like WWE Network style, like their own streaming platform.
And actually, you know what, Tom? I would put up that banner about the K-Rod and the Apple TV Plus, since we're talking about that.
Yeah, let's go to that.
So the Kay-Rod cast was a failure. I hate to say it was a failure. It was bad.
I don't think it was
a failure. I don't think it was a total failure.
Here's my I'm in the middle. I don't think it was but maybe this is because we're in New York. I don't think it was any different from listening to a Yankee style podcast. And when I'm turning into something like a Kay-Rod cast or a Manning cast, I want difference.
You want national, first of all. That felt so local on ESPN2 during the broadcast.
And we'll see, how attempt 2 goes tomorrow when they're doing an NL West battle.
They're doing the Padres and the Braves.
When it's not a New York-based team.
I'm going to tell you right now, Michael Kay is going to be so confused sitting there tomorrow, considering that he doesn't. He's called national games for the playoffs many years ago for ESPN Radio.
I think tomorrow is going to be the true test.
And someone tell A-Rod to stop being fake during the broadcast. I'm getting a little tired of it.
I mean, he only has that robot only has 2 settings, fake and off. So.
It's so corny.
Well, Nick was right in the beginning, because I think in the beginning it looked like Kay was just doing play-by-play, and they were tested right away because you had that comebacker that hit comebacker that hit Montgomery, so you had like a pause for a couple of minutes, and then they brought in the big guys, but. Trying to do a Manning cast in baseball is very, very difficult. So
it's very difficult from the point of, first of all, the whole point is Michael Kay is not supposed to be doing play-by-play. They want a conversation. They want 2 guys sitting at the bar. Now, the difference that most people don't know about between the Manning cast and the Kay-Rod cast, the Kay-Rod cast is owned by ESPN. The Manning cast is owned by Omaha Productions, which is the Manning's production company. So the Manning cast is controlled by the Mannings.
In other words, this is an ESPN production. They're doing ESPN things.
Yes, most people don't know that. People think that, it's the K-Rod cast and they have control. They don't have control. ESPN does in every way, shape, or form.
And I mean, it's cool. It's cool to see, like when they're talking. It's cool when they're talking to somebody like a Roger Clemens, or when they were talking to weren't they talking to that big Seattle young outfielder,
Julio Rodriguez?
Julio Rodriguez, yes.
Yeah. Well, they had Roger Clemens and they had Ortiz.
And Julio. But the problem, even with Ortiz, though, it was cool to hear from Ortiz, and I'm having a conversation after Ortiz, got elected to the Hall. But again, you can see Ortiz and A-Rod on the National Fox pregame and postgames. It's nothing different.
That's in the playoffs, but I know what you mean. But yes.
But again, we're looking for something different. We're looking for, like you said, a hangout kind of thing. Didn't feel that.
And the worst part is, the 2 of them were sitting there and just watching them try to be the natural guy sitting at the bar it was painful watching.
How did you guys feel about them taking the hate tweets and basically laughing?
That was my favorite.
I did like that. I love that.
That's an angle. That
was the Jimmy Kimmel angle.
Of course they had to. I'm sure they had to delete the vulgar ones. Because if you can't have somebody saying they'd rather chop their balls off than oh my god, wait. Imagine they get Rob Manfred for one of these shows and they do hate tweets for him.
They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't do it. If ESPN wants to keep their contract with MLB, they won't do it.
No,
we've got a tweet here from First Name.
No, have him react to them like a Jimmy Kimmel.
No, because again, Rob doesn't want to be embarrassed. We know this by now.
But I do want to see how he would react to, hey, we've got a tweet here from First Name Bunch of Numbers. Rob Manfred is the asshole of professional sports.
He'd be embarrassed when he finds out that on opening day, not every ballpark was sold out.
I was going to say, you mean he's embarrassed about tweets directed at him, but not the fact that baseball seems to be dying before its eyes at his
No, it's not is dying. It is
dying. It's dead.
No,
it's dead.
It's not. It's going to take a lot to come back.
No, Nick, it's already dead. We don't need to
see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
But you don't have to say that because it's already dead. It's a dying sport.
So just don't tell him that because he doesn't seem to realize.
Well,
Wait,
you know what?
where's the pulse? Where's the pulse?
When they're back at the table in 5 years, and we're going to be going through this all over again, maybe we'll rehash.
No, what's going to happen at the next bargaining table? What's the next streaming service we're going to add to everything else?
Gosh.
You know, can't we just do the XLV anyways?
No.
Even though we
yes,
have the
please. Tom's idea at least makes sense.
You know what we should? You know what you're going to hear at the next bargaining table? All right, we're going to do exclusive games to TikTok.
Oh my gosh!
You know what? The next commissioner of the MLB being Vince McMahon, that would be something I would want to see.
But
no, because you know who the next commissioner of MLB is going to be? BSBS.
Oh
no, not Scott Boras. Don't say that. Don't say that.
See, now you said it. Now you jinxed it.
If Scott Boras ever,
one other thing I'll say real quick on the Kay-Rod Cast. I actually watched more of the Sunday Night Crew, and I thought that Ravage, David Cohn, and Eduardo Rodriguez were.
That's
Eduardo
the best
Perez.
one.
Jeez, Eduardo
Coney was absolutely
Eduardo Perez were great. I think David Cohn nationally is great, and I've always liked Carl Ravage, and I'm happy for him that he actually has the national broadcast now because he's
Cohn.
And
Cohn is underrated. Cohn is
great. I like him a lot, and I think. You know, I haven't been a big fan, and I know I'm going to get to this in a second. The 3-person booth, I think, is not the best thing in the world, but those 3 together, I think, work.
There's only one booth of 3 or 2, in my opinion, and it's going to be biased a little bit, that works in MLB. It's the Yankee booth and it's the Met booth are the only 3-man booths that work, in my opinion.
Gary, Keith, and Ron are the best 3 in baseball, and there's no argument. The problem with the Yankee one is the fact that they rotate so many guys.
Well, I was going to say it. Nick and I talked about this too. Paul O'Neill, of all people, unvaccinated. And so he has to do the games remotely from Ohio.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you thought Paulie was smarter than this, but turns out he's not.
Well,
I do like the Studio 21 concept, though.
But as a follow-up, and I don't know, Nick, if you were going to get to this, what's going to happen when his number gets retired in August?
We talked about that. Yeah,
Think about that. I think it was our buddy Marchant that tweeted that out, or that posted it on.
Ladies and gentlemen,
was that he can't he may not be able to get to the stadium.
Ladies and gentlemen, now live via satellite for his retirement ceremony, Mr. Paul O'Neill.
Well,
meanwhile, it's just an iPad, a broom, and a Roomba taped together.
Oh, jeez.
But I was going to say, and Nick, I think you partially agreed with me. You have to cancel the ceremony until he can get there.
No, I fully agree with you. I fully agreed with you.
I understand where you're going with this, but the Yankees are not going to do that.
You have to.
They will do. I'm telling you, they will do jersey retirement via satellite. As sad as it is.
Do you know how
it's sad? It's pathetic. Yes, Nick, but they won't cancel it.
And actually, I'll go one step further. Besides Paul O'Neill, John Smoltz, who worked for MLB Network, still works for Fox Sports in the booth now with Joe Davis as the top team to call the games. He refused to get vaccinated, so MLB Network said, "Oh, your contract's up. We don't need you anymore."
I guess the only thing that could change, though, is the rules could change by the time the ceremony happens. That's certainly possible.
And you know what? I'm tired of that, too. So I love how these companies and these media outlets come out and say, well, the rules are going to change eventually anyway, so they don't have to worry about being vaccinated.
Johnny, yes, I understand the rules change thing. Absolutely. I mean, it's wild how the rules change constantly. But Johnny, let's say, but remember the definition of fully vaccinated. So when's the ceremony? August, late August?
I think it's August. Yeah, I'll find out for you.
I'll look it up.
August 21st, I think.
Okay. So let's say it's August 21st. That means, remember, to be fully vaccinated, he needs to have had the second shot for what, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
So that means the first shot he would have to get August, like the latest would be August 6th or 7th. And then he'd have to get like the vaccine by early July.
This is the whole situation with the Yankees going to Toronto. It's the same thing.
Well, we're going to find, I was going to say the Yankee situation about that. We're going to find out. Judgment Day's coming.
Yeah.
I didn't mean the pun on words, but.
Yes, you did.
You totally meant it. That's my job, and you took it.
Well, it might be the last year of it, so take it and run, because who knows if Judge is going to be on
Well,
this team.
wow. Actually, Johnny's here for the first time since we had that disagreement.
Oh God!
Oh, Nick, I saw it. You think our Kershaw disagreement was something? The whole Judge thing was something too. But,
my brain hurts.
I know you want to get to Apple TV real quick, because I know there's a bunch of things with that. Boy, you know, I don't have Apple TV. I'm not going to get Apple TV.
I will say one word. I only need to say one word to get my opinion out there.
Yeah.
Trash.
Well,
I'll give you one. I'll give you one sound effect.
Yeah, that's what it's always about. But
go ahead.
This thing sucked from the. I mean, it sucked before it even happened, because we've talked about this. I mean, the fact that they announced this deal while the lockout was actually still happening. I mean, that was bad. That was bad enough right there.
Peacock too.
Yeah, Peacock. And by the way, how about the fact when the Yankees play a Sunday morning game, a Sunday morning baseball in early June? You're going to be loving that. But look, as far as this Apple TV thing, everybody look. The problem is, the national broadcasters is something that nobody gets used to. I didn't have a problem with the broadcasters. I thought they were fine on both broadcasts. I thought the coolest.
Oh
thing,
my God! No, no. I was gonna say, oh my God! I never looked at the Peacock schedule. You're right. June 5th.
June 5th. Tigers Yankees at 11:30 in the morning. And think about how warm it could be in June in New York City. You could be talking about the guys playing. It's going to be 80, 90 degrees then.
What they're referring to, if people don't know about the Peacock deal, all games are at 11:30 Eastern. They're all East Coast games on the Peacock.
Imagine
11:30 or 12, because there are a couple of noon games too. I think the Mets are playing Miami at noon.
But still, imagine if you're on the West Coast and want to see these games.
That's 8:30.
No, I don't feel for the West Coast. I'm sorry. We have to stay up late on the East Coast to help the West Coast. They can get up early and be all right. They'll be fine.
Okay, you know what? I feel that way for the UFCs when I have to stay up till 1 or 2 o'clock.
Tom, I mean, we've said it. Why are you starting the national championship game in college basketball at 9:23 at night? Makes no sense.
It doesn't.
I'm sorry, but you know what? They can get up early. I get up early for work every day, so they can do it. They'll be fine.
I need to have one harsh criticism, and we've tried to get this person on a million times, and it's not going to help our case, but I'm going to have the opinion anyway.
Go for it, yeah.
So, why is Katie Nolan on a MLB broadcast for Apple TV Plus?
I like Katie Nolan though.
I like Katie Nolan, but not for MLB analysis.
I don't know. That could be the one thing about the broadcasters that I would question. I had no problem with Melanie Newman. I don't have a problem. The 3-person booth, like I said, I think that's a little much, especially if you're going to have a sideline reporter.
And also the stupid analytics thing that they're doing on
that's where I'm going to get at. The whole run probability, the
hit probability.
The hit probability, that is the worst thing I have ever seen in the history of sports.
Yes. Yes. So Johnny and I are referring to is on the screen. They took screenshots of it. When they come up, they literally have the hit probability percentage of, and it will say 55%, 56%. It tells you.
Yeah. So
it's all gambling.
No, hang on. So yeah, okay, this hitter is coming up to the plate. So there's this percent chance because this pitcher's going to throw, it's a 50% chance that he's going to throw a fastball and a curveball.
Well, it didn't say anything.
Christ.
Wait a minute. It didn't say anything about pitch probability. It just said the probability of getting a hit.
Still, this is ridiculous.
You know what this is? I'll tell you exactly what this is. It's all about the gambling. That's why they're doing the probability percentage of a hit, because they want people to bet on pitches. That's a new thing now. You can bet on whether a pitch is a ball or a strike.
I know. You can bet on every single pitch.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then if they were saying, and again, I didn't see this in real time because I don't have Apple TV, but when you have the Mets and Nationals playing, and those two teams are in a fierce battle because of all the hit by pitches and stuff. When the bench is empty and you're actually not focusing, you don't have the camera angle on the.
That was bad. That was bad.
I mean, I can almost even give the broadcast a pass for talking about the Golden Girls while the game is going on.
Who gives a shit about the Golden Girls?
You know what? that's what happens when the pace of baseball slowed down so much that you need something to fill the time up.
And that's the ironic part, that they're trying to fill time with all these dumb things like entertainment and shit, but they can't get the games done.
Yeah. I just read an article talking about how they actually said that the pace is actually going up now instead, but that's for a whole nother point.
And Johnny, like you said, I like Melanie Newman. She's called baseball games before.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where you just like, ugh. All right, let's move on. I think I've blown my head enough.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being friends. All right. let's give us. We mentioned the Giants. Let's give a, we mentioned the Giants before. Let's give a little celebration, a toast. I don't have anything on me right now to Alyssa Naken, who became the first female on-field coach in the history of Major League Baseball's regular season.
I mean, good for her, really to be.
It was
Rachel Bakovic too.
It was an unfortunate circumstance, but still good for her, regardless.
And you can't tell me that there aren't female, female people in women in baseball that could manage a lot better than the guys in baseball.
Look at the Yankees in what is it, single A, double A, their manager?
Rachel
Bakovic.
Yeah.
I just said
Yeah.
that.
And I'd say no, if we're going for prominent positions in all baseball, it's even the front office. I mean, the Marlins, anybody?
Kim
Yeah,
Ning.
exactly.
Yeah.
But the Yankees have been doing it for a long time. I mean, their vice president is Gene Afterman.
Yeah. Well, they were way ahead of the curve. The Yankees
They were way ahead of the curve when it comes to that.
Kim was Cashman's right-hand person for a little while.
right.
Yeah,
And now she's like in charge almost with the Marlins.
It really does seem like now the rest of the league is catching up, and baseball is. This is just Jackie Robinson week. It took them a long time to catch up to be on the right side of history thing.
But now there's female strength and conditioning coaches too.
This should not be females. What a novel concept.
No. I'm just saying, like,
this should not be a thing. But again,
the weird part is that's where it started. It started with female strength and conditioning coaches. That's how they got into the league. Then you started seeing people coming up into management jobs, and so far.
I understand. This is not something that should be a novel concept, but I'm glad it's happening anyway.
Right. So I like this. It's good. Hopefully it'll lead to more.
All right, let's talk some football here. So, little continuation of the story that we started a couple of weeks ago and last week with I'd say it broke a couple of weeks ago. Then last week we had AJ Perez on. But now, remember we were talking about Congress? Well, officially now a House committee letter to the Financial Trade Commission has allegations of financial misconduct since Dan Snyder took over. That's not just in the last few years, but going back to when he took over the Commanders. This is now getting to the FTC.
So they're pinning him. They're pinning it on that. Does that mean I can pin, Jeffrey Loria for ruining the Expos back in?
Nope.
No, because you know what? I'm gonna be really honest with you. I kind of am in the same boat as AJ Perez. So how much as bad as this is, as you may mention my quote earlier about how it is a sin against owners and that shouldn't be stood for with the NFL. Nothing's going to happen with Dan Snyder.
This whole situation is nuts, and I haven't gotten to use this in a while.
I mean, I would like to see Dan Snyder under a congressional subcommittee because he'd probably crack under the slightest pressure.
Under the threat of perjury?
Yeah. All right. Which one of us hasn't pirated an illegal DVD? Come on.
It's like I said, he has no balls. He has no balls, okay? He doesn't know how to take command. He doesn't know how to lead a situation. We're talking about a guy where literally he was finagling with cheerleaders, for crying out loud, okay? That's what we're talking about. A guy where the cheerleaders were coming out, they were sitting at a dinner, and he basically allegedly forced their hands on his thigh or his legs, okay? That's the same Dan Snyder we're talking about that basically finagled money for 20 years as well.
Embezzled money, though.
And mistreated employees. I'm not just talking about the cheerleaders, but we're talking about multiple stories of mistreatment of employees.
So, again, this is not one single incident of bullshit. This is bullshit mountain.
And you would think any of these the league would just go enough, but I guess
It's the
not.
NFL. It's the no fucks league, as I like to say. That's one of my versions of NFL. It could be no fun league, no fucks league, whatever you want to call it at this point. But you can't win here. Look at Robert Kraft. He was in massage parlors doing things. He got caught, but somehow he got off. No pun intended.
In more ways than one.
Right.
Oh, God.
That was an accident. That was an accident, I swear.
And they'll be harsher on Stephen Ross, who all he did compared to all this was
Gambling.
Was gambling bit.
I mean, that whole situation.
They're more serious on gambling bit than they are on stuff like this, and that's where the things in the league don't look great. I mean, when you're a player that gets suspended for an entire season because of gambling, but domestic violence and assault and stuff like that, you only miss 4 to 6 games. It's an awful look.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I'm blind.
I was gonna
can't see the controversy in front of me. I am just a blind beggar.
I was gonna say I'm not even to hear or speak no evil. I just see no evil.
I just see nothing. And Ricky Williams is probably going, this is bullshit.
I was just gonna say, I guess that's what you get for owning the Hard as a Rock hotel.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Well, he owns the Hard Rock.
Yeah, no. Yep.
Yes, we know.
Okay, Derek Carr. We made mention of this earlier. Getting a 3-year, $121.5 million extension. But there's like different things with this contract. Like, for instance,
yeah.
What happened? Yeah, but there's loophole. So there's a no trade clause in this contract.
I mean, what other team would want to take the financial burden, though?
Well, remember, technically it's a 1-year contract with all the stipulations. So it probably someone could take him if they wanted. And you don't know. The Raiders could be good for 1 year and then be terrible for 5 years, and then you end up in a John Gruden situation that you can't control.
Guys, he's going to be making over the next 4 years $141.3 million, and $100 million of that is going to come within the first 3.
So therefore, it behooves you to make sure that you got what you think you're paying for.
Well, remember,
and I'm not entirely convinced.
Well, remember, they've got Josh Jacobs, they've got Devontae Adams, they've got a couple of young guys around him.
Hunter Renfrow is good, and defensively they locked up Max Crosby for 4 years. So I mean, they're putting the pieces together. Just like like we've been saying though, that the thing they've got now is they've got the most competitive division in football. And somebody in that division is going to be in for a disappointing year, because I just don't think it's realistic to think that all 4 of those teams can be that good.
I mean, you got the Chiefs who still have Mahomes and company. Although, remember, the Chiefs don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. So I know they still got Kels, but I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Chiefs dynamic looks like.
Well, I think I would go out on a limb and say, they have 2 first-round picks this year. I would not be surprised you see them trade up and go get a receiver. It's a very receiver-laden draft. I could definitely see them making a move like that. That's why this draft is going to be so exciting, because you've got
the Packers for sure need a receiver.
Well, they got Sammy Watkins on the cheap for 1 year and $3 million. So
right. Now I like Sammy Watkins, but come on, you're gonna tell me Sammy Watkins is a number 1? You're gonna tell me that to my face?
This is the one guy that somehow manages to survive in the league all this years. Like, he's hurt, but people keep taking a chance on him for some reason.
You're a receiver, you get a shot.
Not just that, but constantly going to successful teams too, like the Chiefs and the Ravens.
That's true. I mean, the way I look at this,
occasionally he'll make a highlight reel catch, and then it's all of a sudden, is Sammy Watkins back? And then you just never hear about him.
The way I look at this situation, Derek Carr has improved. He's a better quarterback.
But the whole division has. Again, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Broncos, I mean, I'm gonna love that offense with Russell Wilson throw to Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
I don't think the Chiefs are the favorite this
I
time.
don't think so either. I think the Broncos are right now the favorite.
I tell you though, that this is the one thing that's really crazy. The Chiefs, if you really break it down, it looks like the Chiefs have definitely taken steps back. But of those 4 teams, the Chiefs are the ones with the best quarterback.
I think the Chiefs are still number 2.
That's the thing. So that's where I run into a problem saying that the Chiefs are the worst team in that division, because they do have the best quarterback.
But losing Tyreek Hill, that totally drops them down.
I agree. Sure. No, I mean, look, there's definitely some hits in the way that they've played the last 2 years. If you really break it down, you definitely can see that this has been a 2-year, not decline, but 2 years where they actually are going in a slightly falling direction.
I'm going to throw out a bizarre move, Tom, here.
Okay.
Do you think Odell Beckham Jr. in a Chiefs uniform would be interesting?
Ooh. But remember, the Chiefs are going to want to be competitive, and Odell's out till at least November with his injury. So
But I'm
I don't know
saying
if
that would be
if he was healthy, I could see it, but I don't know.
I'm just saying, like what he did for LA. Same thing.
I completely understand. I could see it. I could see it.
That would be something. I'll tell you right now.
And you know what's funny? Odell was because I'm trying to think. Remember how I always say Odell wants to be the number one plus be on the Super Bowl winning team? He had both of those things. I know he wasn't the number one out in LA, but he still contributed to their Super Bowl victory.
He made some big
the pressure's off. The pressure's off. So I could see a Chiefs move.
That would be sick if to be down there with Kelsey and all them. That would be something.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of all the Chiefs fans in the Kansas City area salivating.
Again, though, maybe the Rams still go for him, so that way you have a receiving core of Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, and Odell.
That's a scary team if you look at what they've done too. I mean, adding.
Imagine if they didn't. Imagine if they didn't trade Robert Woods. That would have been an unbelievably nightmarish wide receiver core.
They would have had an embarrassment of riches too.
Yeah.
Well, they do on the defensive side.
They do on the defense.
I mean, with added Bobby Wagner, which was a position that they've been lacking.
And hopefully, Allen Robinson has a comeback after suffering so much in Chicago.
Yeah.
All right. One last story here. XFL, they have introduced their head coaches. Now, I can't find anything to say which team they go to which, but their head coaches for 2023's comeback season. Reggie Barlow, Anthony Betch, Terrell Buckley, Jim Haslett, Wade Phillips, Bob Stoops, Rod Woodson, and Hines Ward.
Ladies and gentlemen, a veritable who's that of football talent. And
who's that? Heck.
Yeah.
Maybe in terms of head coaching status, but
in terms of head coaches, that's what I mean.
My problem with this is that my problem that I've had with like the XFL and even like the USFL that's starting now.
Oh yeah, guys, USFL's coming back tonight.
Yeah.
Are you watching?
I mean, I might put it on for 5 seconds, but my problem is there's a reason why spring football just doesn't work. Whether it's the USFL, the AAF, or the XFL, spring football just does not work. And I think it actually could have worked if we weren't having baseball right now, because people would need something else to watch. But right now, when you've got baseball starting up, you've got a basketball playoffs, which are going to be so fascinating, and you've got hockey coming down the stretch. I'm sorry, I just can't get into the spring football stuff. I just can't.
I mean, with all these other options, one, I say this.
Look at all the failure.
Between the XFL,
Ward is not a failure.
No, I'm not talking about the coaches. I'm
Not
talking
the
about
coaches.
the XFL, the USFL, the AAF. Like nothing beats the NFL. Nothing beats the NFL.
I mean,
let's just take the game that's happening tonight for a second. So I don't know why I was reading up on this, but they're having like 55 different camera angles tonight in Birmingham. And they've got the game on 2 broadcast channels. They've got the game on Fox and NBC.
Because they're partners.
Yeah, but
Fox and NBC are partners. Wow, that's something to say.
Yeah, I didn't think I would ever say that.
Yes.
But remember, with the they're not trying to compete with the NFL anymore. The XFL is kind of I can't say developmental, but they're a feeder system.
They have a partnership agreement for.
They're the Atlantic League. Let's call it that.
Even though I think that partnership is the biggest load of shit I've ever seen in my life. The XFL partnering with the NFL, give me a break. They're 2 different area codes.
Vince McMahon is turning over in his grave, and he's not even dead yet.
even though their silent partner is actually Mick Vince fan.
But you know what the difference is? When The Rock is in charge, things are more respectable. When you have
you're more respectable. That's no, I mean, yes, because I love The Rock, and yes, The Rock is a great person, but that's also why you got that cease and desist from the U.S. women's soccer players.
That was
Does
bad.
that mean we can get a beer sponsorship with Stone Cold?
I would happily be sponsored by Broken Skull IPA.
Yes. Hey, we're trying to do that with somebody else now. We're close to it.
Hey, a tie sponsorship with Mankind.
Wow. Those are the days.
Hey, you know what I have to say though? There's one sound effect that we actually didn't use for the first time in all our shows.
Oh, is it what I think it is?
I'm not. Do I want to irritate Nick at the end of the show? I don't know, but
Oh, I know what it is.
I'm not going to go there. I had no reason to use it today.
You can.
Just
we
play the
haven't had
damn thing.
We haven't had a reason to use it.
It's a good point. So I'm not going to start now.
That'll be its bye week.
We will see. All right, that's gonna do it for us. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching us on Twitter. Make sure to hit the like, hit the retweet. If you're watching us on Facebook, hit the like our Facebook page as well.
By the way, we hit a milestone too. We're over 100 subscribers for the network on YouTube.
Yeah. And let's keep it going. Now to 200, baby.
Yeah, really. All the way up to 1 million.
All right.
That's right.
Another thank you to our sponsor, as usual, Knack. Make sure to use the promo code BENCH at checkout to get your free Knack TSA-approved lock. Make sure, remember, to order your Knack bag, order the lock, and then when you go to checkout, use the promo code BENCH. That way, that $15 lock becomes free.
Free.
Also,
That's
remember,
right.
We're
also
offering
remember
it
to follow
completely
us.
gratis.
Remember to give us a like, give us a subscribe, because you'll get Empty the Bench, you'll get Beyond the Bench, you'll get
And wait.
Game On.
You also get Game On, as we just said, as well.
Oh, perfect.
All right, episode 6 this Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And, we've had no shortage of topics, and this will be another crazy week. We'll dive more into the Kershaw situation, baseball, NBA playoffs are starting up. A lot of key players are out. Doncic is out. So we'll have a breakdown of the NBA playoffs, baseball, like we said, football, some other stuff. I'll also talk about the Baker stuff as well. So definitely no shortage of topics. So Hank and Victor and myself, Tuesday, episode 6 at 3 p.m. Eastern here on the Empty the Bench podcast network.
Also remember some of our other shows, including Inside the Numbers, which is just debuted. Sports gambling show twice a week now, Mondays and Fridays. Also, the Big Bad podcast coming very soon to the Empty the Bench podcast network.
Yeah. The BBB, the Big Bad broadcast, is coming actually this coming week, Friday, the 22nd. Clint Howard will be the first guest on that show.
Just make sure you keep it here.
Yeah, there's
And
so
make
much.
sure to ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Make sure you subscribe. We hit our first milestone of, like I said, of over 100 subscribers, and it's up and beyond from here. Just don't tell LeBron James, because then we might get in trouble.
Oh, we got the LeBron reference. There it is.
There it is.
I was right at the
Maybe
end.
this
Manfred
is-
and
maybe
LeBron.
this is
We got
now
the
the
double.
Maybe this is now the perfect time to use that sound effect on yourself, Nick.
Oh, okay.
REL.
He used it on himself, in all fairness, Nick.
Yeah, good point.
All right.
See,
Make sure-
the one thing I can say is at least I will play sound effects on myself. How many times have I played the punch sound effect on myself?
Yes.
Okay. So
Make
I
sure
can
to
dish
follow
it-
us across social media at ETV Sports and the ETV Network. Make sure to follow us across social media. See our social media is now scrolling across the bottom. There's been a change to mine. I am moving accounts. Tom Talk Sports 9. So anyone who is on Thomas J. Albano, stay over there, but just come on over.
Also move over here.
Yeah.
just do the LeBron James and make the lateral movement to the next team.
Yeah, just shift over in the couch just a little bit.
All right.
Sorry.
For Nick Morrison, Nick Federa, Johnny Montalbano, I'm Tom Albano. We'll see you next time on Empty the Bench. Take care, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
We'll see you next week, everybody.